Exactly. So, yeah, it's a and
I think we're live.
okay.
It says we're live. Yeah,
Yay!
the video stream is running.
Because Steve is here, we are indeed recording this show, so you can listen to us live. On this, do you not need this anymore? Is that what happened here?
Leave that out for me. I might need it again.
Okay.
I seem to have better luck getting through the proxy server on Wi-Fi
Interesting.
than I do on Ethernet, even though it's the same
Who
backstream
knows?
network.
Who knows? But yes, so we're in on that, and of course we're streaming live, and of course because Steve is here, we are also on YouTube again. So and all those links, by the way, are on our website in the upper right hand corner. All the links are there. You can join us through any one of those. See our smiling faces, and if that doesn't turn you off of this show, I don't know what will. But
too many views.
Too many views. But in the meantime, we're going to go to the phones and we're going to talk to Marty from Hamlin, New York. Hi, Marty. What's up?
Hi, Nick. Thanks for taking my call. I've just got a question about iPad styluses.
iPad styluses. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that bit.
I just want to know what your thoughts are. You know, I've gotten this app download called GoodNotes, and I also see where there's styluses that they have for it. I just wondered your thoughts on various styluses for iPad.
Is this the regular iPad or the iPad Pro?
Just a regular iPad.
Okay. Because Apple does make their own pencil for the iPad Pro that has a much finer line. That actually tends to be the biggest differentiating point between the different styluses available, is how fine a line you can draw if you intend to use it for drawing.
Well, I intend to use it for note-taking and things like that.
Most of the styluses have a rubber tip on them. And it's because the iPad uses what's called a capacitance sensor. It's not a pressure sensor. It measures the electrical conductivity of your finger. So that's how they get the stylus to work. There are skinny ones, there's fat ones, there's long ones, there's thin ones. Nick has some tchotchke styluses. He's passing out to anyone that happens to be here at the studio.
Yeah, right. It's kind of the three of us.
Yeah. In general, they're all pretty much the same. They have kind of a rubbery, spongy tip to them. And there is one called the Jot, which does make a finer line, and it has a little plastic disc that you rest your stylus on, basically. So when you're touching the iPad screen, it rests on this plastic disc while you're drawing with the line. So in many programs you can take notes with a stylus or even your finger, but it saves it as a graphic. I'm not sure of any actual handwriting recognition apps that exist to turn the graphic of your handwriting into actual text. Okay.
All right. I just was wondering any ones that you recommended, any particular ones, because this app that I'm using, this GoodNotes, is very good, and it lets you take notes and stuff, and I just want to do a little better job with my writing on these notes, that's all.
Yeah.
I just wondered if you had any recommendations.
Not specifically. Paper by 53 has been a very popular writing and drawing app. There was one, before styluses got popular, there was one called Audio Note Taker, where it would actually record the audio of whatever you're taking notes on while you're taking notes, and it would link your note to that piece in the audio track. So if you wanted to go back and listen to that thing that you just took a note on, you could. And that was a neat one for a while too.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your taking the call. Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
Thanks. Yeah, everybody loves the idea of being able to take notes and turning them into text. And there are a couple of apps that do that.
Ask someone else to read your handwriting, and then you realize how hard a thing it is for the computer to read your handwriting.
That's what I was just going to say. Just because it can doesn't mean it will.
Speaking of stylus, because back when I had the business going full time, and we'd get samples of pens. I've been getting a few now that are a pen and a stylus.
Pen at one end and stylus at the other.
So I got a few of those floating around. They're great.
I have to be careful when I hand one of those to a customer, because they always want to unclick the pen and then scratch the iPad with the pen end. No, use the other end. Use the spongy end.
But the new phone that I've got coming has a stylus right in it.
Yep.
Now was it the Galaxy 6 or 7? One of them had
Five.
a
Five has.
one of the first Galaxies that had the stylus built into the phone.
Oh,
the stylus.
Note 4.
The stylus would plug in and then lock in place. Apparently, the stylus would fit backwards.
yes.
And if you push a little harder than normal, it would lock into place and
seven
never come
won't.
out again. You would physically have to break the phone to get it out. But what was neat by having the stylus as part of the phone, when you walk away and leave your stylus behind, the phone beeps at you.
Yep.
And if you walk away from your phone and have the stylus with you, the stylus would vibrate or something
Yeah.
to let you know if you lost one or the other.
Yep.
Well,
yep.
now with the new Note 7, you can't put the stylus in wrong.
Yeah.
You've only got one way to do it.
Yeah. And Samsung's answer was you should have read the manual. It tells you what way to put it in. It sounded so much like a Steve Jobs answer.
Yeah.
You're holding it wrong.
Yes.
Well, yeah, you put it in wrong. That's not our fault.
Right. Exactly. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Back in just a couple of minutes with Dave Enright, Steve Ray, me, Nick Francesco, and you. It is 20 minutes after the hour. It is Sound Bytes. It is member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Computer talk you can understand. More Sound Bytes is next on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
There is no better way to test drive a restaurant than to take them up on a dining incentive. Jazz 90.1 has dozens of them for you to try. Test drive a new taste with the Jazz 90.1 Enhanced Member Card for your pledge of $90.10 or more to Jazz 90.1. It's good for the duration of your membership. Get the Enhanced Jazz 90.1 Member Card by calling 966-5299 or online at jazz901.org.
Women now make up 37% of the workforce, changing their role forever.
Harvard Medical School has now opened its doors to new female applicants.
The first woman is now in space.
The majority of last year's doctorate degrees were earned by women.
We've come so far, but our news is changing for the worse. More women die from heart disease and stroke than men, even though it can be prevented. Make a change at GoRedForWomen.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the American Heart Association's Go Red for Women.
This is the sound of E. coli splashing around in raw hamburger juice on your cutting board. And it looks like Mom just put the tomatoes and onions on there too. Don't let E. coli mosh with your food. An estimated 3,000 Americans die from a foodborne illness each year. So always separate raw meat from vegetables on 2 cutting boards. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov. Brought to you by the USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
Ready to become a member of Jazz 90.1? It's easy to do and it feels so good. Just call 966-5299. That's 966-JAZZ or pledge securely online at jazz901.org. And remember to check if you work for a company that matches donations. This could double or even triple your pledge. Anytime is a good time to become a member of Jazz 90.1.
Is that a faucet running? That's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest. Forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink.
What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum.
That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe. I didn't know the trees were so amazing. Yep, and the forest gives us shade, trees to climb.
That's awesome. Let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Spread the word. The program that keeps you connected to the latest and greatest in jazz is on your radio.
That's right. Each week on the Cool Jazz Countdown, we're taking you inside the music with our new music features and our On the Line segment.
So join us, Marcellus Shepard, the bass man,
and me, Kyle LaRue, for the Cool Jazz Countdown.
Mondays at 6 a.m. on Jazz 90.1.
There's no better way to test drive a restaurant than to take them up on a dining incentive. And Jazz 90.1 has dozens of them for you to try. Test drive a new taste with the Jazz 90.1 Enhanced Member Card for your pledge of $90.10 or more to Jazz 90.1. It's good for the duration of your membership. Get the Enhanced Jazz 90.1 Member Card by calling 966-5299 or online at jazz901.org.
And now your Jazz 90.1 weather.
A slow-moving front making its way across western New York and the Finger Lakes will mean some thundery downpours developing. Look for some hazy sunshine to start the day today, and the humidity stays high. High temperature in the mid-80s. The afternoon brings the best opportunity for some of these thundery downpours, with locally heavy rainfall possible into tonight. Some locations by Sunday morning on the order of 1 to 2 inches in the rain bucket. Overnight lows tonight to the mid-70s. Tomorrow, clouds, partial sun, and a shower, thunder shower, highs in the low 80s. I'm meteorologist Josh Nichols for Jazz 90.1.
And currently right now, we've got partly cloudy skies, 90 degrees out at the airport, and 95 here at member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Hi, I'm Linda Wildman. Join me Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Nick Francesco.
I'm David Wright.
And I'm Steve Wright.
And at 24 minutes after the hour, we are Soundbites. On Thursday, Microsoft offered a master class on why building backdoors into secure systems are a bad idea. Two security researchers who go by the handles at Never Released and at The Wackolian, which I like.
Really? Really? Someone decided that was a good name for their company?
No. It's a Twitter handle.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Someone decided that was a good name for a Twitter handle?
Apparently they did.
Actually, it is a pretty good name for a Twitter handle.
It is a pretty good name for a Twitter handle. Recently announced in a blog post that malicious actors can bypass Windows Secure Boot feature on vulnerable machines. If exploited, this would allow bad guys to load all kinds of software on a target machine, from bootkits and rootkits to a completely different operating system. The researchers say they first notified Microsoft about the issue around March or April of this year. Secure Boot is a feature of the Unified Extensible Firmware Interface, or UEFI, or UFI, that was first added in Windows 8. It makes sure components loaded onto your PC during boot are trusted. The whole point of Secure Boot is to prevent rogue software from loading onto your machine.
Yeah, it's more likely UEFU.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, Microsoft created a backdoor of sorts for Secure Boot by creating a policy that allows developers to load software without the usual integrity checks. The need for such a policy, perhaps better thought of as a rule that governs how Secure Boot operates, was honest enough. Microsoft wanted to allow for testing various builds of Windows without the need for all the usual checks. As you can imagine, having this policy available to the public would be a very bad idea, since it would allow anyone to bypass Secure Boot, thus rendering the feature pointless. Naturally, the policy leaked online, allowing anyone with enough hacker chops to create malware in it and attack vulnerable machines. Where it all gets really tricky is that some Windows 10 devices can't turn off UEFI, and thus Secure Boot, to prevent the bypass, such as Windows phones and lowly Windows RT machines. Anybody actually using an RT machine? Microsoft has already released 2 security patches, one in July and one in August, to try and fix the problem. Apparently, however, these fixes are not completely sufficient, though they do help. Regardless, if you haven't updated your Windows device in a while, installing both of those updates is important to gain some protection from this potential threat. The impact on you at home, well, while this is particularly nasty security flaw, an attacker still needs either physical access to your PC or administrative privileges for it to be of any use. That means the usual security precautions apply. Always run antivirus software to keep malware from seeking to gain administrative access to your machine. Be careful where you go online, which attachments you open. Never leave your PC unattended in public. Finally, always keep up with the latest security patches for Windows and your installed software, especially your browser. So, Microsoft has a backdoor. Give us a call, 585-966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299, toll free 1-800-790-0415. You know, this is the problem with any sort of security system. If you put in any sort of bypass, which is generally what they call a backdoor, it's a way into the system without having to actually do all the stuff. You will find somebody, it gets out and people know about it, and then you might as well not have a security system at all. UEFI boot has been the bane of the Linux community forever, since it means you can't easily buy a Windows machine and then put Linux on it. Now, of course, that'll be much easier. And in general, it also means that the people who do these things for bad reasons will find a much easier way to do this stuff. So
yeah, there's always going to be that. It's been that way forever, in a decade. I mean, folks have good intentions, but those good intentions, unfortunately, usually through maybe 2%, find other ways to spoil it for so many others.
Yep.
Again, it's just a small group, but yet, you know, like you say, those back doors are essential sometimes because it saves time and a lot of effort in what you're trying to do with the system. That, you know, it's a double-edged sword.
Yep.
And it was probably put there with completely innocuous.
Yeah, good intentions.
Like
All
I said,
good
it was
intentions.
a big deal. They want to be able to let developers develop.
Yeah.
You know, their minds are on developing, not on, oh, now before I put this on, I have to do this and this and this and make it secure and blah, blah, blah. But I'm trying to test a feature. All I want to do is you don't have to pay me. I just want to test the feature. You can pay me. I don't mind that, but you don't have to. That's all I'm saying. And so they want to test. Dave has his money out. I think he's counting his fortune. I'm not sure. I'm not sure we have enough time in just 2 hours for you to do that, Dave.
You don't want to get my bill.
Yeah. Oh, I will trade you right now. I will trade you any bill you want to name. But basically, it's we've seen it over and over again. People put in a backdoor for good reasons or bad reasons. There was a bunch of stuff that the government insisted on backdoors in, and of course, those all leaked, and it just goes over. It happens over and over and over, and it's.
The Russian government passed. Well, I don't know if the government passed it, but Putin signed it. An encryption bill like the Burr-Feinstein bill that got defeated here in America. That pretty much every communication in Russia must be decryptable and handed over to the government on request. Must be stored for 6 months, and the metadata must be stored for 3 years.
Yep.
So we're already hearing about companies that are pulling out of Russia because they don't want to hand over the back doors to the Russian government.
That's right.
No.
You shouldn't have a back door. You should not have a back door.
Or even the front door. So Russia wants the keys. And we've seen time and time again in Brazil. I'm surprised this hasn't come up more during the Olympics. Every now and then, a Brazilian court orders WhatsApp to hand over somebody's text messages, and WhatsApp says, we can't, they're encrypted.
Right.
And so they put the senior vice president of WhatsApp in jail. They've frozen $6 million of Facebook money because WhatsApp doesn't have a bank account, apparently, in Brazil. But Facebook does. And they shut off WhatsApp for the entire country.
Yep.
And 100 million people in Brazil use WhatsApp. And so there's usually outrage and it comes back on the next day. But yeah, so the courts just don't get it. That, you know, we cannot do this. It is not built into this. So the answer is rewrite the program so you can give someone a backdoor.
Right.
Well, no. You know, number one, no. Number two, people won't upgrade.
Right.
And the bad guys are going to use something else anyway that doesn't have a backdoor.
Yeah, if they don't find that, they'll find something else.
Yeah.
I'm actually on WhatsApp right now because my daughter's traveling through Europe.
It's huge in the rest of the country. It never really caught on in the U.S., but the rest of the country is the rest of the world. Yes, thank you. Especially Asia, where long-distance cell phone bills are so high. And some, the guy across the street's in a different country, so it's a horrible expense.
Yeah.
So WhatsApp is huge.
Yeah.
Over there.
All right, back to the phones. Our next caller is Larry from Rochester, New York. Hi, Larry. What's up?
Good afternoon, guys. And as usual, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I have a question. Have an Apple iPhone 6s, and every now and then I try to get live background to work. And so far, since I've had the phone, I've never gotten it to work. Only unless I'm in the actual settings and you know, tooling around trying to see which one you want. But if you select it, I'm just wondering, am I doing something wrong, or is this thing just never worked and never going to work, or what? And I can listen offline.
Oh, okay.
So you said it was a 6S, right? So it's, it's the newer phone that has the ability.
Thanks, Larry.
Most people turn live background off because it can disorient them.
Well, and also it takes a lot of battery.
Takes a lot of battery life, yeah. So basically, live background is a feature on the newer iPhones that instead of having a static picture as the background or wallpaper on your phone, you can actually have a live photo. So in essence, animation. You put enough photos together fast enough, it's a movie.
Right. Right.
And so you should be able to set that in your settings under wallpaper. There are certain apps that do, I'm sorry, certain wallpapers built in that do live background. And I'm scrolling down through the list here. You can use your own live photo. So if you shoot a photo with the iPhone 6s, one of the things it does,
make it live.
It's yeah. So live is a preference you turn on. So every time you shoot a still photo, it actually makes it live. So it grabs a 1.5 seconds before and a 1.5 seconds after, gives you a little 3-second video of that photo. You can use that as your wallpaper as well. So it may be that you've got that setting turned off in the settings app, and I'm going to post this link here on our website, Larry, so that you can find it. It is a neat option to do, but it does take up a lot of CPU cycles and therefore a lot of battery. So it may not be something you want to leave on all the time.
Right. I am sorry you hung up, Larry, because I would want to know if you tried it. He said it works in the settings, but it doesn't save.
There's a button when you pick it, whether you want to set it as your lock screen or your home screen or both. So maybe he's setting it as one and not the other, and he wants to do it in both. And you have an option, the still photo that we've done forever, the perspective photo, which as you angle your phone, you see the photo from a different perspective, or a live photo. So you have 6 different choices you have to set. The wonderful thing about choices is there's so many of them. Just to set exactly what you want it to do. So you have to turn on live photo, and then you have to set it to your lock screen or your home screen or both. So
well, at any rate, Steve is going to post this, and hopefully, Larry, that'll lead you through the various sets of steps that you'll have to go through. You good?
Yep.
All right, back to the phones. Our next caller is Pat from Batavia, New York. Hiya, Pat. What's up?
Well, first of all, welcome back, Steve.
Thanks.
And my question is, I have been using my webcam to record some material for Google Hangouts, and it works fine if you're about 3 to 5 feet away from the subject. But if you get further away, it doesn't seem to record as well. Steve, I'm wondering what camera what kind of recording do you use for your YouTube video?
Well, that's
the
yep.
sound.
We've got a Logitech C910, I think it is, which is a wide angle HD, so that we can get both Nick and I wide angle. C920. But that's sort of the general limitation of webcams. They are designed to sit in front of your computer and shoot, 3 to 4 feet away. You may need to go to a higher tier camera that has a longer focal length. So if you look at the picture of Dave, he's about 6 feet away from the camera, and it's not as good a picture because he's 6, even though that's an HD camera also. Although that was a $30 camera, so, because I knew it was going to be farther away. We don't need to spend that much on it. Yeah. So Dave,
I don't need that. Yeah,
so if you get about 2 feet away from that camera, you'll look really good.
No, that's okay. Far away is good for me.
But you want to look at the focal length of the camera specs before you buy it. And a lot of times it will say 3 feet to infinity. Well, that means 3 feet.
Yeah, it really does, yeah.
Yes, it will take pictures to infinity, but if you want to see them with any clarity, 3 feet. And the other thing that I also do streaming with is the Cider Users Group. And we wanted a camera with high enough quality to point at the projection screen so people could see the slides on the screen. We have since found a workaround for that. There's a free program called CamTwist that's a video switcher program. And what it lets you do is you can have multiple cameras set up, and it will let you switch between them. You can put in text overlays, so that's how I get the date and time stamped onto it. I've got the picture-in-picture feature, so we can have all 3 of us on camera at once. And there's also a setting where it makes your desktop a camera. So you can feed your desktop into your camera program, so that then anything you see on your desktop screen, say you're showing a program, and want people to be able to read your computer screen, that can be part of the video feed as well.
Right. But in general, Steve is right. Webcams are designed for you sitting in front of your computer. So they have a fairly fixed and fairly narrow focal depth of field. If you want something better, then you have to spend significantly more money depending on how far away you want things to get. So if you're doing a Hangout and you want to show a room behind you, you have a friend who was doing Hangouts with dogs in the background. She wanted to show her dogs. Well, that's not going to happen easily or well from your webcam built into your laptop. Does that make sense?
Is there any way I could use my Sony Handycam, maybe like with the HDMI output?
Most likely, you would need to have that input on your computer. So you might need an HDMI to USB import, or if your camera has USB input.
Pat, stay on the line. Don't hang up. We got to take a quick break. Back in just a couple of minutes with Dave Enright, Steve Ray, me, Nick Francesco, Pat from Batavia, and you. It's 20 minutes. It's 40 minutes after the hour. It's Sound Bytes, member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at soundbytes.org. More with Nick Francesco, Dave Enright, and Steve Ray next on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
The success of any business depends on its ability to offer value, a great quality product or service for the right price. Businesses themselves need to get value for the things they need as well. As an underwriter of Jazz 90.1, you can get the word out about your business, what you do, where you are, and how to reach you. Underwriting messages are straightforward, simple, and easy to remember. Underwriting at Jazz 90.1 is a great way to promote your business while supporting public jazz radio. For more information, call the Jazz 90.1 business office at 966-2660 today.
This is a test to find out if you know it all when it comes to children. Name one of the leading killers of U.S. children age 1 to 13. What's the best way to protect children in a car crash? At what age and size should a child start using a booster seat?
Don't assume you know it all when it comes to car seats for your child. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat and know for sure. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
You feel petrified. You're struggling with your mortgage payments, not knowing what to do. You do nothing. But if you do something, you're far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making Home Affordable is a free government program. Call 888-995-HOPE to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about your options. Call 888-995-HOPE or visit makinghomeaffordable.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, and the Ad Council.
This is Rob Linton, station manager of Jazz 90.1. Annual membership contributions and business underwriting keep our programming on the air. The future growth and excellence of our station depends on our ability to also build a permanent base of support through an active and successful legacy gift program. Please continue your gift past a lifetime by including Jazz 90.1 in your will, trust, or general estate plans, and join us in building a legacy of giving to support public jazz radio in Rochester. For more information on planned giving, you may visit jazz901.org or call us at 966-2660. Thank you.
Here's the latest Jazz 90.1 weather forecast.
A slow-moving front making its way across western New York and the Finger Lakes will mean some thundery downpours developing. Look for some hazy sunshine to start the day today, and the humidity stays high. High temperature in the mid-80s. The afternoon brings the best opportunity for some of these thundery downpours, with locally heavy rainfall possible into tonight. Some locations by Sunday morning on the order of 1 to 2 inches in the rain bucket. Overnight lows tonight to the mid-70s. Tomorrow, clouds, partial sun, and a shower, thunder shower, highs in the low 80s. I'm meteorologist Josh Nichols for Jazz 90.1.
Currently, right now, it's mostly cloudy. It looks like a little rain is coming out there. It's 90 degrees out at the airport and 92 here at member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Hi, this is Rick Petrie. Please join me Tuesday nights from 9 to midnight for North Star Sounds on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Nick Francesco.
I'm Dave Enright.
And I'm Steve Ray.
And at 44 minutes after the hour, we are Soundbite. You know, North Star Radio, every time I hear that, I think I used to sell North Star computers. And I kept, because it's a computer show, I keep expecting them to say North Star Computers. Okay. Pat, we have Pat from Batavia still waiting on the line. Go ahead, Pat and Steve.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you need...
Just to be clear, can you just back up a step, because over the commercial, some of my memory has faded. So I believe you said if I used an HDMI output from the Sony camcorder, or no, yeah, it's a Handycam.
Yeah, it depends on what outputs it
to a
has.
USB input on the laptop.
Yeah, if you're lucky, the camera has a USB out also, which then you can plug to the USB on your computer. If not, you need to get an HDMI to USB audio input box. I was trying to remember. I think DigiDesign is one of the big companies that do. No, they're audio in. I gotta remember my video in. To get a video input box to get that video into your computer. So it works easiest if you have USB on your camera.
Yeah, I do, but it doesn't seem to recognize it. And I'm wondering if it's any difference because it's actually a recorder versus being just a camera.
We have sometimes seen that you need to have the camera think it's recording. You don't have to have a tape in it or anything, but just hit record, and then it will send the video out to the USB port into your computer. And then for video input, it's the Blackmagic's Intensity series. So Blackmagic is one of the big companies that does video input cards. So it's basically HDMI to USB. And depending on how much you spend is how much or how many input jacks you get. So they also do really, really high end. They do SDI, they do 4K, they do super high end stuff. But their Intensity it only starts at a couple $100.
Okay, sounds good. Now, one last point. Am I coming through pretty clear?
Pretty clear.
Okay, good. Then I want to give you a little plug, Nick. I am calling through my Chromebook with information I picked up by going to the Rochester Googles group that meets second or the first Thursday.
First Thursday of the month.
Yeah, I always try to go on the second one. That's why I miss it. So first Thursday of the month, I make a mental note of it, and I know put it on my calendar. So okay, we'll let that go. But thank you, guys, all around for all you've done for people in the area and the listening area. And welcome back, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, with the Rochester Google, thanks, Pat. We appreciate that. The Rochester, and that's in from Batavia. So Rochester Google meets the first Thursday of every month at St. John's Meadows at 7 o'clock. And we go for a couple of hours and we talk about various thises and thatses having to do with Chromebooks and Google itself and docs and, all the Drive stuff and pretty much everything Google does and how to integrate them and how to play around with them and all the other things that you can do with them.
I think I talked to another gentleman in this morning, dropped his computer off to have me clean it up and that. And again, he goes, yeah, and I'm a little worried. He goes, I know maybe I can get a little more time out of this. And again, I asked him, all right, I said, so what do you do with it? He goes, basically, the only reason I use this is for my online banking. I go, get a Chromebook.
Yeah.
He goes, what? So I went up, got mine, brought it down. Of course, it was off, and I turned it on. And boop, pops right up, and he goes, whoa, that was fast. I go, yeah, 9-hour battery life. I says, there's the Chrome operating system. And he goes, well, what about photos? Boom, I pulled up the photos. There's all my photos up there on storage, free of charge, thank you. And I tell him about the documents, docs and all that. And he, well, what about viruses in it? I go, it's not an operating system. It's just a browser.
Right.
Doesn't get them. I'm going shopping when I get home looking for them.
Yep. I was actually showing somebody the other day, and they said, yeah, but, I have a lot of pictures. Well, here's all your pictures. Well, I like to have them locally. Okay, these are local. Well, I like music. Okay, here's about 45 hours of music locally. How do you get all that on your hard drive? I said, I have a 256 gig SD card stuck in the side of this thing. I've got about 15 days of music. I got about 8 days of movies. I got about 1,000 pictures. And I've still got gigs and gigs and gigs left on this thing. And oh, by the way, if I fill it up, I can pop it out and put it in another one. So it's not like I'm going to run out of space anytime soon.
Yeah, no, not too easy.
You can do all of that stuff. It's super simple.
What the card cost you?
I don't even remember. I got it as part of a pack.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it was on Woot. And I got it as part of a pack.
I might do that with mine. Although I've been using jump drives.
Yeah.
I got
the prices are coming down so drastically. It's almost ridiculous. I just found a high performance 10x SD card on Amazon for $80.
$80, yeah.
256 gig.
This was less because it's a deeply off brand.
Yeah.
And it was on Woot. So I really expected not much, but it didn't cost me much.
Yeah. Interestingly, the higher the capacity, the more expensive per gig they get.
Yeah.
The 512 gig version is $200.
Right.
But gigs in this little thumbnail size thing.
It's
I've got this
ridiculous.
picture about this is 1K 20 years ago, and then 10 years ago it was 100 megs, and 5 years ago it was 100 gigs, and now we're closing in on a terabyte on an SD card.
That's exactly right. That's right. Sony
In fact,
has
I think somebody was it Samsung just announced a 16 terabyte. Oh, I haven't checked your news stories. Is that one of them?
It's one of the news stories. I think I put it in. Yeah. Seagate, 60 terabyte SSD card.
60 terabyte
Yeah.
SD card. It's only 10 grand.
Yeah.
Now, next year it'll be 5.
And the year after that,
it'll be $100.
Yep.
Yeah. Just ridiculous how fast storage is falling. In fact, somewhere I've got a picture. Maybe I'll post it. The first 1 megabyte IBM hard drive is the size of a full refrigerator.
Yeah. I had a picture of it being stowed on a plane.
Yeah, that's maybe
And
I got it from
it's
you.
enormous. Yeah. It's enormous. All right, back to the phones. Our next caller is Rich from Arundecoit, New York. What's up, Rich?
Hi, I've got an observation and a question. I think we got feedback.
Yeah.
Observation and question regarding Wi-Fi signal. Can I ask you that?
Sure.
Last night I am streaming from my second floor router down to the TV room, one floor between us, and it's Wi-Fi signal, of course. And I decided to use my headphones because my partner didn't want to hear the audio. So I got the Bluetooth signal working, and I'm listening to the headphones, and all of a sudden the movie started breaking up and whatever that is. Can those signals interfere with each other? Do you guys know?
It's certainly not impossible. It could be coincidence because who's your internet service provider?
Time Warner.
Okay.
Was your roommate also streaming something different?
No.
Okay.
No. It was just me.
Okay.
But I will add this. I have yet to install my Wi-Fi amplifier. What is the term for the device that you put halfway between?
A range extender.
Yeah.
Yes. I have yet to install that, and we'll see if my movies from Netflix and Roku
Right.
and all that
Well,
stuff
here's
does
the
not break
thing.
up anymore.
Yeah, but here's the thing. That may not be the reason. You can use your phone or a laptop or whatever to see what the strength of the signal is. But if it doesn't happen, if you don't have a problem when you're not using Bluetooth, and you do have a problem when you're using Bluetooth, it's because they're both running at about 2.5 gigahertz, and they're interfering with each other. The easiest way to solve this is, depending on what your TV or Roku box or whatever it is you have connected does, if it will accept something in the 5 gigahertz range, and if in fact your router will also do 5 gigahertz, you might want to put it there. See, I had the same problem on the downstairs television. I get a fine signal, but it's if in the 2.5 gigahertz range. If I want to use my Bluetooth headset, I have an issue because they're interfering with each other.
Oh, I see.
So I set the Roku box to read at 5 gigahertz, and there's no longer any sort of interference.
So I should try to set the Roku little gizmo at 5, but I need to set the router upstairs at 5 as well.
Right. So do the router first.
Now,
most of them will do both 2.5 and 5 gigahertz.
Mine will, I believe. But the question is, how the heck do I do that? Do I have to go into Netgear's menus of some kind?
Yes, you go into Netgear's menus, you turn on 5 gigahertz, you can set a separate or the same password.
And you want to make sure that the router can do both frequencies at the same time. Some of the earlier routers were one or the other. And if yours is one of those kinds, then you have to change all your devices to 5 gigahertz.
Right.
Or the newer ones will do both at the same time. And so you just change the 1 or 2 to 5 gigahertz, and that can help.
Right.
If the router is going to run both at the same time, how will I know it's indeed on the 5?
Well, when you set it up, you
give it the 5 a different name.
Yeah, you give the 5 a slightly different name, and you might even give it a different password, and then you'll know which one you're on.
I got it. That might do it. Thank you.
There you go.
And the range extenders almost never make anything faster. They extend the range of the wireless signal. Your wireless signal, and is the most common wireless these days. That's 400 megabit. The best you're going to get out of cable internet is 50 if you're paying for the fastest you want. So your internet service is always much slow. Well, not always. Is almost always
for the most part.
For the most part, is almost always much slower than the wireless.
Rub it in.
If you have a newer AC wireless network, then your AC wireless signal is 1300, and your cable is still only 50.
And
so
again,
even now with your 1 gigabit green light,
Yeah.
your wireless is faster at 1300.
And still, I mean, you can talk speed there, but then it's also how many of our folks are on that DSLAM.
And so he could have been watching a movie that someone else somewhere in the world started watching.
Yep.
And so it got a little slower at the source end.
Right.
Not
But
at
it
his
is
end.
likely in this particular case it was Bluetooth interference.
Yeah.
Because they're both on the same frequency.
And your mic.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, so, and your microwave oven is also 2.4 gigahertz.
Right.
So,
but in general, with the two of them happening right at the same box at the same time, it is very likely that was the issue. But so it's what I had to do. Now, 2.5 gigahertz is generally a little faster, but a slightly less distance.
and it doesn't go through walls as well.
And it doesn't go through walls as well. In my case, it's just going through a floor because the router's right upstairs.
Yep.
So that's not a big deal. But yeah, I can't get 5 gigahertz out in the yard at all, whereas I can get 2.5 nicely.
And that's a case where a range extender or signal booster would help because you can put it on the other floor.
Right.
They're best if you can hardwire the range extender to your main router, but many of them will also wirelessly extend the network. But you usually put those in a place where you're having trouble reaching, which means the range extender has trouble reaching. So you have to go halfway between where the problem is. So you still get a good signal to pick up and pass it off, unless you can run that Ethernet cable.
Well, I got my router down the basement, but I've got it positioned that it goes right on up to where my office is, and above my office is my bedroom.
Yep.
And also I use it outside, so that's right out that door.
Yeah.
So I get good signals, boom, boom, boom.
A lot of
straight
times,
shot.
a lot of times the cable and DSL people will run your router into the basement because that's where all the other wires are. And on the roof of the basement, the ceiling of the basement is giant steel I-beams holding the house up. And giant steel I-beams block radio signals.
And all the ductwork,
your heat
pipes, and
so that's the worst place to put your Wi-Fi router. It's okay to put the cable router there, and then string one Ethernet wire maybe up beside a duct, so you get that above the all that metal, and put your wireless router there.
Right. So yeah, there's a whole science to where and how you place wireless device, wireless routers, and things like that, and having those things in the right place and knowing what's there. You know, we've said this a million times. If you could see radio waves, you wouldn't see anything because they'd be blocking. There's so many of them that block everything. But knowing where that signal can go is hard. All right, listen, you've wasted an hour of your life, but we're going to give you a chance to do it again on the other side. So just stay with us, and we'll be back in just a few minutes with Dave Enright, with Steve Ray, with me, Nick Francesco. Maybe not Steve Ray. He seems to be dying right at the moment. And you. It is 59 minutes after the hour. You're listening to the longest running computer show in the known universe. That's right. It's Sound Bytes on the truly great and solely member supported Jazz 90.1. See you in a couple of minutes.
WGMC Greece Rochester, a public service of the Greece Central School District. Jazz 90.1.
On Facebook at Jazz 901 FM.
It's America's longest-running computer show. Back to more Sound Bites with Nick, Dave, and Steve. Next on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
If you want to support Jazz 90.1 a lot, but your budget says only a little will work, there is a way. It's called the Jazz 90.1 Jazz-O-Matic membership. You can support Jazz 90.1 with a monthly gift of $10 or more, while enjoying the many great thank you gifts that we offer. Jazz 90.1 will deduct that amount automatically every month, and should your circumstances change, you can cancel at any time. Support Jazz 90.1 the way you want to, without bruising your budget. Jazz-O-Matically. For more information on becoming Jazz-O-Matic, call 966-5299 or pledge online at jazz901.org.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Infectious diseases spread by pests like malaria, Zika, and Chagas disease are causing a worldwide health crisis. Fortunately, here at home, we don't face the same level of threat, but we shouldn't let our guard down. Mosquito-borne diseases like West Nile virus and Zika are impacting communities across the U.S., and Lyme disease spread by ticks is on the rise. Whether around the world or just around the block, get the facts you need to protect your family at pestworld.org. A public service message from the National Pest Management Association.
Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards says flooding has reached record levels in some parts of the state following days of torrential rain. In fact, he says the floods are historic, comparing it to the severe floods last March.
Even though the area is smaller, we believe that the rainfall and the flooding could actually be worse, and in fact already is worse in many areas.
2 people are dead, and Louisiana is under an official state of emergency. The heat wave continues to stifle the East Coast with heat indexes over 100 degrees already in many areas. President Obama talking heat and climate change in his weekly address.
One of the most urgent challenges of our time is climate change. We know that 2015 surpassed 2014 as the warmest year on record, and 2016 is on pace to be even hotter.
The girl who fell from a Ferris wheel in Tennessee is improving. 6-year-old Briley J. Reynolds, who had been listed in critical condition for 4 days, has now been upgraded to serious condition. I'm Michael Toscano.
Hey everyone, let's all stop what we're doing and take a moment. You see, every moment can be kind of special. But they can be loud moments, goofy moments, dorky moments, it doesn't matter. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Jazz 90.1 is pleased to announce the launch of a brand new internet radio station. Jazz 90.1 Swing and Blues features the best of classic and new blues music all week, as well as big bands and swinging singers all weekend long. Programs include the rebroadcast of the Blues Spectrum, Big Road Blues, Sinatra and Company, Big Band Friday, American Standards by the Sea, and more. The new channel also features tons of great blues and big band music not found anywhere else. Listen to Jazz 90.1 Swing and Blues now online at jazz901.org or via our free mobile app. Jazz 90.1 Swing and Blues Radio is another great service of member-supported Jazz 90.1.
The thought of my sons growing up without me inspired me to quit smoking.
I talked to my doctors, and then I threw away all my cigarettes, ashtrays, and lighters.
I started exercising instead of smoking.
Staying away from alcohol when I was first quitting was key.
I kept on trying, learned something each time.
Do whatever it takes.
No matter how many times it takes.
We did it, so can you.
For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and CDC.
Welcome back to America's longest-running computer show, Sound Bytes, on member-supported Jazz 90.1. Get online now. Call 966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll free 800-790-0415. Or submit your question by email at soundbytes.org. Once again, here's Nick Francesco, Dave Enright, and Steve Ray on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Nick Francesco.
I'm Dave Enright.
And I'm Steve Ray.
And at 5 minutes after the hour, we are Sound Bytes, and you... How did I lose that session already? What is wrong with you?
Our computer's wonderful.
Yeah. No, sometimes they're not. You can give us a call, 585-966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll free 1-800-790-0415. You know, I clicked the Remember Me box. I checked that, and apparently it does not, in fact, remember me. Okay. Whatever. You know, we started to talk about this. Yeah, right. We started to talk about this, but let me read the news story. There aren't many shockers when it comes to storage capacity, but try this one on for size. Seagate has announced a 60 terabyte SSD card. SSD card that may ship as early as next year. Seagate showed the drive at the Flash Memory Summit in Silicon Valley on Tuesday. It's called a technology demonstration, which means there could still be a few kinks to work out. But if Seagate can deliver as planned, the drive would have close to 4 times the capacity of the largest SSD available currently, which is Samsung's PM1633A SSD.
Well, let alone SSD, the HD. I think 8 gigabytes is the biggest single HD.
Well, you can get more, but
you can RAID them. Yeah.
Right. And you can get multiple. You can get internally pre-rated drives, I guess is one way to put that. But the drive will be aimed at servers and flash arrays, where it could meet the growing demand for storage fueled by the mobile devices, online video, and emerging Internet of Things. The SAS, or Serial Attached SCSI drive, fits into standard enterprise hard drive 3.5-inch storage slots, Seagate said. It didn't provide technical details of the announcement. It said the drive is based on a flexible architecture that could eventually scale to 100 terabytes in the same form factor. So are you lusting after a 60 terabyte SSD? Give us a call, 585-966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299, toll free 1-800-790-0415.
Unfortunately, the SAS interface is only 12 gigabits per second.
Right.
So now we got another new interface to catch up. Well,
Right.
actually, SAS is an older interface. It's more expensive, but it runs faster than SATA. Right now, SATA 2 is only 6 gigabits per second. But server arrays, back-end storage racks almost always use SAS, which I have to point out is, as you mentioned, serial attached SCSI, and Macintosh was the first mainstream computer to have SCSI ports.
Interestingly, Steve Jobs hated the name SCSI.
Yeah.
Small Computer Systems Interface, SCSI, and everybody pronounces it SCSI. And Steve Jobs wanted to pronounce it sexy because there's nothing SCSI about Macs. That's a quote.
Yep. That never caught on.
And then one of the few times Steve Jobs failed to influence the entire world to do what he wanted.
So this is an acronym that contains an acronym.
Right. Right.
So it should be
It's
SASCSI.
Right.
Well, computer people are lazy. That we want 3-letter acronyms.
Right. So yeah, but so 60 terabytes is a lot. But this comes down to, and what you just mentioned also comes down to, a friend of mine was talking about, I want to upgrade my hard drive so that it's faster. So I want to put in a SCSI hard drive, you know, an SSD card. I said, it's not going to be faster. You've already got a 6 gigabit connection in your machine, and the hard drive you've got in there is 6 gigabit speed.
Yep.
So putting in something that does 30 gigabits isn't going to help you because you're still going through a 6 gigabit thing. It's like buying a Ferrari and then driving it on the expressway at 55.
Yep. And that's,
you simply cannot go faster than that interface. Don't bother.
You're just moving the bottleneck.
and so that's
what
where
we've said for decades.
Yep, that's where RAID comes in. If you can have 2 or 3 or 4 or 6 or 20 6 gigabit interfaces, then your data can run faster than that. So now the drives are too slow for the interface, so we need faster drives, and so you're always jumping back and forth.
Right, but that's why putting together a system is so difficult. I mean, you can pull stuff off the shelves and make a machine, and for the general public, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
But if what you're doing, for example, is video editing, and you're editing an actual movie and you want it to be as fast as possible, you're going to spend a metric bucket load of cash because you want the fastest possible sets of interfaces. And even then, it's going to be only as fast as the slowest piece. So you have to be very careful as to what you do. Oh, your machine must be so fast because it's got an SSD. It's only as fast as it is.
Yep.
And it's not going to be faster no matter what I do at the other end of that connection.
Yeah. We had mentioned
It is what it is.
I mentioned earlier about Blackmagic and their video interfaces. They also have a disk test program. It's free on the App Store that will test your computer's disk I/O. And it will tell you how good a video stream you can run. You know, from SD all the way up to to 4K 222.
Right.
And it's always frustrating to see how slow your hard drive is.
Well,
compared to an SSD RAID.
Yeah.
So you get a RAID 6 with SSDs in it over a SAS connection, and now that's what they use in Hollywood for for doing movies.
Right. Right. And so it becomes an exercise in where's the bottleneck.
Yeah.
And unless you understand all the pieces of your machine, because half of those pieces are built onto the motherboard. So let's go look at the motherboard. And oh wait, then the data must be controlled through the
PCI bus.
PCI bus, and then that's controlled by the CPU. And so at what point, where do the data go? You can get data streams that go right from the hard drive to the video card and bypass the computer, so they are as fast as they can be. But still, what's the speed of that connection? How many megabits gigabits, terabits can you pass through that instantly? Because unless every component in your system, and I mean every component, has at least 1 comma in the number, you could be faster.
Yep. So right now, the PCI Express 2.0 with 16 lanes will do 64 gigabit transfer.
Right.
And that's got at least 1 comma in the price tag of the drive controller, not just the computer.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Every component.
Yep.
I can remember back in the day, I had somebody come in, they wanted me to upgrade the video because they wanted to get it faster. So, all right. So, I put in a faster video card for them. Got a call a few days later. Well, this thing still isn't any faster. What do you mean? Well, when I get on the internet, it's still not any faster. Well, dude.
You didn't say that.
We don't have any control on that. Yes, the machine runs faster now because now you're not running the video off the motherboard. It's got its own memory. It's going to do faster there. But when it hits the internet, all bets are off. It is what it is.
Right. Even I, every once in a while, I get a stutter when I'm looking at a video online, and I know it's not my machine, and I know it's not my connection. It's the other end.
Yeah, and it's still
it's whatever server they're serving it out of had a bit of a stutter,
or anywhere in between.
Or anywhere in between, right?
You want to see something weird? Do a trace route.
Do a trace route.
And how many jumps are there between my computer, in fact, my computer sitting on my desk, and my computer sitting on the other desk when it has to go through the internet?
Yeah.
Yes, you get an average of 15 or 20 hops you can get up to 30. It'll only show you up to 30 on the standard trace route. You can change that, but you show that hop, and you'll see some hops are 15 milliseconds, 20 milliseconds. Some are 100 milliseconds to
Yeah.
get to the next one, 200 milliseconds. Now add all those up, and that's the delay between you and them.
Mhm.
You know, it's a ridiculously large amount of money time when you're talking about computer speeds.
And especially
and
at that
video,
end,
trying to sync audio and video together.
Right.
That was the other thing I thought the earlier caller was going to say. Listening to Bluetooth headsets, the audio can be out of sync from the video because they're going over different wireless channels.
Right.
Yep. And the other thing too is, when you're connecting like that, like you said, doing all those hops, and then what infrastructure they're on and connecting to.
That's exactly
I mean,
it.
you could you're on green light, but yet if you're connecting to some other server that's hanging off of, say, still phone line, and they're using that as their uplink in, you can't improve that. It is what it is, and you can spend all the money you want, but if those other particular services don't have the high speed and everything else infrastructure, you're all dressed up and no place to go.
A friend of mine was asking about Tor the other day, so I said, okay, let me come over, and I got her set up on Tor, and we talked about that, and she said, but it's very slow. I said, yes, Tor, it can be very slow. You're going through a whole bunch of other servers. There's all kinds of encryption and stuff going on, and that slows it down. Plus, the servers that you're going to are kind of sketchy anyway, and so they're probably not the highest. Yes, it's going to be slow. Get over it. That's what Tor can be slow.
And
not always, but it can be.
And we kind of have the weird oxymoron that we were here in the U.S. We were among the first to get internet services, but because our infrastructure is so old, sometimes your line is going to go over a 100-year-old phone line,
right,
buried somewhere, because the infrastructure is so old. It's very, very hard for us to get higher speed. So everyone has to install new lines. So that's what we're seeing with Greenlight. They have to run a new fiber line to your house because the coax lines you have for your cable TV. Remember when cable TV came to the house 20 years ago, and that was such a big thing. They had to run a new wire to your house. Every new technology needs new wires. And so we're seeing a lot of municipalities updating their infrastructure by putting in new fiber bundles. And as fiber technology gets even better, that you can carry more data over the same fiber and more data over the same bundle. We are not stock experts, but I would say buy stock in Corning.
Yeah.
Between Gorilla Glass and fiber optic wire, they
Yeah,
are really probably set for.
Yeah, they know what they're
quite a
doing.
while, yeah.
The problem, of course, is that in many municipalities, the currently entrenched companies that do phone and cable have influence.
Right.
Let's just put it that way, with the legislatures, and the legislatures are saying, no, we won't allow new technologies to come in. Well, that's ridiculously short-sighted, as my friend Jerry Seward says. Fast, high-speed internet is the Erie Canal of the 21st century. Right. And without it, we have huge issues in terms of people, for example, in Rochester, moving away.
Yep.
We all want fast internet.
Yeah.
We all want it to be quick, and we want it to be inexpensive, and we want it to be ubiquitous. And the way you get that is with a municipality.
And we hear so much about fibers as being the new, the higher speed. There are stories about how much dark fiber there is in Rochester, especially inside the inner loop. Fiber that was run back
in the X inner loop.
During the boom of the 80s and 90s, that isn't being used because it's been priced out of reach. At our office, we called up the local phone company to ask about voice over IP.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, yeah, sure, $300 a line. And we said, no. and so then we call up the cable company and say voice over IP, and they say, oh, yeah, $10,000 to run a cable to your house or your office. And we said, no. So we're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to talk to one of the fiber companies to see if they're close enough to us to get fiber to our office.
Right. All right, to the phones. Our next caller is Judy, somewhere out on the web.
No, Webster.
A Webster.
Oh, jeez.
You guys are funny. Anyway, sometimes you talk way over my head, but your conversation this morning kind of fits with where I am at the moment. I want to replace my modem from Time Warner.
Yeah.
And I just went out yesterday briefly, and what the girl from Time Warner told me was that I needed a dual modem with router capabilities.
Sure.
And when I started looking at them yesterday, there were many with different download speeds and everything. So that kind of went in with your conversation earlier about no matter what your speed is, it may not be any faster.
Right.
I'm wondering if you could just kind of give me any guidance to a good modem / router.
Okay, so you're on Time Warner.
Yes, and I'm using their modem combination router.
Right.
And I'm paying a monthly fee for that.
Right. One thing that you need to be aware of is there's a standard called DOCSIS, DOCSIS, stands for Data Over Cable Service Interface Specification. And it's an international communication standard and blah, 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 blah. DOCSIS 3 is what we have here in Rochester. And now I'm going to ask you to hold on. We have to take a quick break. So stay on the line. Can you do that for me?
Sure.
Excellent. Back in just a couple of minutes with Dave Enright, Steve Ray, me, Nick Francesco, Judy from Webster, New York, and you. It's 20 minutes after the hour. It's Soundbites, member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Computer talk you can understand. More Sound Bites is next on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Hey, Jack, how's your car doing?
Well, things ain't what they used to be.
Oh, you mean like smoke gets in your eyes?
Yeah, and I can't get started.
When you're ready to face the music and replace your old vehicle, why not donate it to Jazz 90.1? We'll even come pick it up. Jazz 90.1 gets the cash and you get the tax deduction. For more information, call 966-5299 or 966-2660. Donations to Jazz 90.1 are deductible only if you itemize deductions.
How do you see the world? At Shriners Hospitals for Children, we know that changing how you see things can turn them into everyday miracles. Like riding my bike, breaking boards, hugging my mom. Every day for over 90 years, Shriners Hospitals for Children has been sending love to the rescue, regardless of a family's ability to pay.
If you know a child we can help, visit ShrinersHospitalsForChildren.org.
Jazz 90.1 is supported in part by our members and by City Newspaper. City's official Twilight Criterium Guide is included in this week's paper and features photos from the past Criterium, course and food maps, racer bios, and schedules. For more information, you may visit RochesterCityNewspaper.com.
Okay, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. So mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. Socks going first, then shoes, right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day, making sure they brush their teeth is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. Visit 2min2x.org to find out more. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Women now make up 37% of the workforce, changing their role forever. Harvard Medical School has now opened its doors to new female applicants.
The first woman is now in space.
The majority of last year's doctorate degrees were earned by women. We've come so far, but our news is changing for the worse. More women die from heart disease and stroke than men, even though it can be prevented. Make a change at GoRedForWomen.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the American Heart Association's Go Red for Women.
As a Jazz 90.1 listener, you have the ability to leave a lasting gift to the jazz community. By making a planned gift, you can support Jazz 90.1 for many years to come. For more information, contact your financial advisor or call 585-966-2660. You can also find out more about planned giving by visiting www.jazz901.org.
And now, a check of your Jazz 90.1 weather forecast.
A slow-moving front making its way across western New York and the Finger Lakes will mean some thundery downpours developing. Look for some hazy sunshine to start the day today, and the humidity stays high. High temperature in the mid-80s. The afternoon brings the best opportunity for some of these thundery downpours, with locally heavy rainfall possible into tonight. Some locations by Sunday morning on the order of 1 to 2 inches in the rain bucket. Overnight lows tonight into the mid-70s. Tomorrow, clouds, partial sun, and a shower, thunder shower, highs in the low 80s. I'm meteorologist Josh Nichols for Jazz 90.1.
And currently we have mostly cloudy skies, 89 degrees out at the airport and 84 here at member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Everybody get up.
This is Mike Velasquez. Join me every Monday from 8 p.m. to midnight on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Nick Francesco.
I'm Dave Enright.
And I'm Steve Ray.
And at 24 minutes after the hour, we are Sound Bites. Once again, happy birthday to Little Sure Shot, Annie Oakley. And we are on the line with Judy from Webster, New York, and we're talking about modems. Cable modems.
Yes.
Yeah. And Steve.
So one of the things. So my company, we sell cable modems, and I do a lot of setups for customers. We really like the Aris 6141 or the Zoom 5370 models.
Wait a minute, what is this Aris one?
Aris 6141.
Okay.
Or the Zoom 5370. We like Zoom because it's an old name. We used to sell Zoom modems all the time. And Aris used to be Motorola, and we liked Motorola because they created radio basically, way back then.
Yeah.
The one thing we don't recommend is buying a cable modem and wireless router in the same box. We recommend 2 boxes. The cable modem standards don't change very often, where the wireless standards do. So most of the cable modems, dual units you find now, will have a wireless N router in it, which is the 300 megabit. So that's sort of the speed. We're already seeing AC routers becoming common, which is 4 times faster. And there are even faster wireless routers coming out over the next year or two. So if you buy a cable modem with wireless built into it, it makes it much harder to get faster wireless without replacing the whole box. So usually
I have a Lynx router.
Mm-hmm.
Which
and that has wireless in it?
They took off my machine when Time Warner came in.
Sure.
And put in their box. So I wondered about using that and then just buying a modem.
Right, because Time Warner wants to charge you extra. So they charge you $10 a month for the wired internet and an extra $5 a month for wireless. If you would have left your own wireless router in, they couldn't charge you for it on theirs.
Well, he didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
Really? Huh.
That's not surprising.
Yeah, really.
Unfortunately, yeah. So getting your own modem and then getting your own wireless router, it's 2 boxes that you have to have, but it makes it much easier later on to upgrade
and
to
2
something
outlets
faster.
that you have to plug into.
2 power outlets, yeah, and a little cable running between them. But generally speaking, it works out better in the long run for having that.
The ability to do that means that, if you want to upgrade one or the other, you don't have to lose both.
Right. And the speed of the cable modem right now, Time Warner's maximum speed is 300. If you've just got standard internet, you're probably paying for 20. I'm sorry, Time Warner.
Standard.
Time Warner's maximum is 50. So virtually all of the cable modems you buy online are capable of 300. Time Warner is supposed to be going to 300 by the end of the year as part of the Charter merger. So that's some of the numbers you were seeing about. I've also posted on the Soundbites website a link to Time Warner's approved modems. It makes it much easier to get Time Warner to switch to an approved modem than it is to buy one randomly.
Okay, I'll look at that.
But yeah, the Motorola Aris 6141, great little modem. It's under $100. Got blinky lights on the front to tell you what to do.
It's the best part.
Yeah, best part is the blinky lights.
But
Now-
the Era 6141 is a dual.
No, that's internet modem only, and then you would get your own wireless router separately.
Now, are you also getting phone service through Time Warner?
I am, and the only reason I have phone service through them is because my alarm is hooked up to my phone
Right.
line.
So you will also need to get a coax splitter, because you're going to need to split your cable wire. So the phone modem you currently have, you will keep to run your phone, and they'll stop charging your rent on it. So you have to keep checking your bill to make sure they stopped charging your rent on it.
Yeah, well, that was the reason why I called them last month and this month, because they raised my phone $10
Yep.
and told me that I was on some kind of a contract, which they never told me originally.
Probably some promotion they sent you up. So you have to ask for the new promotion to get your bill back down again.
Well, I did, and they gave it to me for 1 month, and then this month it came back again, and when I called, they argued with me and said I couldn't have it because I was an existing customer.
Well, ask them for a different deal, or hang up, call back, and get a different person.
Right.
I did twice.
Yeah.
Got the same answer.
Right.
Wow.
You might want to, this ends up being technical and convoluted. You might want to talk with a group like
Stop the Cap.
Stop the Cap. You might want to talk to the folks over at MacAv or any of the other places in town that do this, and have them come out and do it for you. That way they know all the pieces and parts and all the ups and downs, and will be able to help you with that.
We have heard from several of our customers that if you go to a Time Warner office, they will give you the cable splitter for free.
Oh, okay.
It's just a
but not
tiny
always.
little. It's a tiny little thing.
It's a little thing, and then you need two other cables because you got
Right.
one in and two outs. But then they throw in like an Ethernet cable too, and the one pack I did see when I went on and installed with a customer, they gave them 30 feet of wire, and you need 6 inches.
Right.
To go. but yeah, it's nice.
All right, and as far as the Lynx router that I have,
Right.
I mean, I've had it probably maybe 4 years. Would that be probably too old?
Well, as long as it's still working, Linksys is a good company. They make good products. Nobody knows how long any hardware device will last.
Okay.
But a new one would be faster and
A new one would
better,
likely
yeah.
be faster and a little better all the way around. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you, guys.
All right. Good luck. Thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah, it gets convoluted, which is why I tend to suggest that people talk to experts who know a little bit more about the ins and outs, pieces and parts.
According to Stop the Cap, StopTheCap.com, our wonderful friend of the show, Phil Dampier, Charter has announced they're going to stop Time Warner upgrades until 2017.
Of course they are.
So maybe not by the end of this year.
Right.
Will we see the 300 they said they were going to give us?
Right.
Oh, well.
All right, back to the phones. Our next caller is Jay from Rochester, New York. Hi, Jay. What's up?
Hi. I want to thank the last caller basically because a lot of the questions that she asked, I was going to ask also.
Good.
So a lot of the Time Warner stuff and this whole Stop the Cat thing, I was looking on your website and saw a lot of that information and all the steps that the full article says you have to go through and the research you have to do. And I was really going to try to do it one day soon.
Yep.
But you said that there's some people locally.
Well, yeah, and we try not to single out anybody, but a number of the vendors in town will help you do that. I happen to know that MacAv does that, and I must assume that the others in town do as well. That if you go to them, they have people who know what they're talking about. There's one of the reasons we have Steve on the phone.
Yeah, we have people bring in their cable bill and show them where they can cut duplicate services. We had one customer that was paying for 14 DVRs. They had one.
Wow.
And so people get a $300 or $400 cable bill. They grumble about it, but then they pay it without looking at what's actually on it.
I guess I'm not understanding. So where did you say I should look? Oh.
Well, there are a number of places in town, and we don't like to
To mention
Yeah.
any one specific vendor, I know, but
The company
a
I happen to
vendor-
work for
a vendor that
is
does what? What type of vendor am I looking for?
well, we sell cable modems, we sell home setup services.
You're
Steve-
saying people who install those things.
Right. Well, no. Steve works for a company called MacAv. They are an Apple dealer.
Okay.
In addition to that, they sell cable modems and do installations and all that other stuff. So they have knowledgeable people who know how to do all that stuff.
Right, and we have people bring their cable bill into us, and we can show them where they can save money, where they're getting duplicate services. We find all kinds of crazy things. We've seen customers that have had Spanish channel packages and they don't speak Spanish. So
Sure.
I in my heart, I want to believe it's a typo. Somebody called up and wanted Spanish added to their cable package, and that was one account digit off from somebody else's.
Right.
So it was an
Yeah.
accident that this package got put
Right.
on their bill for $50 a month. I know it's not, but I want to believe
Yeah.
it is.
Right.
Yeah.
It's nice to think that.
Yeah.
And well, I'll look at a few of the dealers and maybe I'll stop by MacAv or something.
Sure.
But second, hopefully quick question. You used to mention that there is a service where I can put in my cell phone number and get a text before, like 15 minutes before your show starts.
Yes, that was up for a while, and then it was down, and now I'm working to get it back up again. And when it is, I will announce to everybody that it is ready.
Okay.
Yeah, it's there's a small issue that we put that on a host serving company. There are a bunch of host serving companies around the world, right? The one we put it on got blacklisted for somebody else who was on it. So now I just have to move it somewhere else and reset it all up and blah, 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 blah. So it's on my list, and I'll move it higher up the list now, and we'll get that done. Yeah, I want to be able to say to anybody, go here, put in your information, and we'll send you a little reminder 15 minutes before the show starts that we're up, and you should listen.
Although I almost hate to say, but most calendar programs have a reminder
Right,
feature
well,
built
but that's
in.
exactly right. But people don't. They're not
Yep.
at their calendar,
Yep.
and they don't put it in, and they don't remember to make it year after year, and et cetera, et cetera. So
Speaking of which, I have a reminder to turn off my cellular, and I did.
there you go.
So that's another thing to our.
I know I was I actually put a comment on the website when you did that giveaway.
Yeah.
And I asked about that. I didn't know if that was the best place to put it, and I did some research this week, and I couldn't pinpoint exactly what service it might be. But you're saying that the service you used to use is currently not available.
Right. It is currently not available, but I'm hoping to bring it back shortly, if not soon.
Okay. All right. All right. So yeah, thank you for the info.
All right. Thanks. Yeah, we'll like I said, it's just a matter of moving it to another server and resetting everything up again, and that takes time, and I just haven't done it yet, and I have to.
And it's always frustrating on these shared servers when someone else gets blacklisted and then your site goes down. I've had that happen to a few of my customers.
Great.
It's even happened to Roadrunner, 2 or 3 times in the last few years. Someone using Roadrunner services, gets blacklisted, and so the blacklist companies get a little overzealous and blacklist RR.com.
Yeah.
And so every one of Time Warner's 100 million customers now cannot send email.
Right. And it happened, and it's certainly not my fault. It's certainly not the fault of 99.9% of the people who are on that server.
Right.
Stuff happens. And so it's actually easier at this point to just move to another service than it is to try to straighten this out again, because the person who caused the issue is not moving. And so unless the company decides to dump them, which is a separate and legal process, it's just easier for me.
I just read about some company that's a spam friendly server, and Google and Yahoo and some of the other internet services are trying to get the company shut down, but there's no real law they can use to shut them down, even though this server is allowing spam.
Yep.
And it's tough.
Yep. And this, the service that I was providing is an opt-in service. You have to say, I want this, and then you have to say, I don't want this.
Right.
All right, to the phones. Our next caller is Bob from Henrietta, New York. What's up, Bob?
For the woman who's chasing cable, Time Warner will give you cable. It will also give you the good quality ends they use on them. You just got to go to like a big box store and buy the crimp tool.
Which is a little beyond some people, but certainly doable. Thank you.
Yeah, but it's not all that hard.
Right. Right.
I
Okay,
just
thanks.
want to make that suggestion.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And that helps with having too much cable lying around. We found out when we're buying cable, a 3-foot cable costs the same as a 6-foot cable.
Yep.
Why? Well, because they got to pay for the ends anyway, and the cost of the cable in the middle is almost insignificant.
Right. Well, and that's why I know a lot of people who buy big cable.
Mm-hmm.
They buy spools of
Right.
cable and
Yeah, spool
boxes
of
of
1,000
ends and a crimp tool and make their own whenever they need them. Absolutely.
In fact, for the longest time, when we provided that service for customers, we needed a way to know how much cable we're using, to know how to bill it. And I kept saying, there's got to be like something on the front. I'm remembering yarn and fabric from when I was a kid. Got to be something you put on the front to tell you how much you've measured. Well, now they actually stamp a foot marker on the cable itself.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
Patent it.
I have trouble making making cables anymore because of my hands. I have arthritis, and it's hard for me. But it's a good skill to have. We're gonna take a quick break. Back in just a couple of minutes with Dave Enright, Steve Ray, me, Nick Francesco, and you. 39 minutes after the hour. It's Sound Bites on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at soundbites.org. More with Nick Francesco, Dave Enright, and Steve Ray next on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
As a teacher, having a foster grandparent in my room, it enables me to have an extra set of hands.
Foster grandparents are role models, tutors, and friends to children with exceptional needs.
It's been fantastic having Grandma Freddie in our room.
It is the best feeling in the world. I'm a best student because of her.
To learn more about how to become a foster grandparent and help children in need, call 1-800-942-2677 or visit SeniorCorps at nationalservice.gov.
What's small, attractive, and worth lots of money? It's the Jazz 90.1 member card, and now it's worth more than ever with the addition of 35 wineries to the list of restaurants, stores, and other businesses in the Rochester area, discounting prices exclusively to members of Jazz 90.1. You can even use your card when you travel in the United States. It's a great way to reward yourself, all while supporting Jazz 90.1. Don't have a Jazz 90.1 member card? Get one by making a pledge of support at the $90.10 level and above to Jazz 90.1. For more information on becoming a member, you can call 966-5299 or make a donation online at jazz901.org.
It only takes a minute to find out if you may have prediabetes, and you can do it at doihaveprediabetes.org. But you're probably not going to, are you? Kids, work, listening to the radio. You're busy, which is great because busy people can't get prediabetes. Oh my, I read that wrong. They can. Should have worn my glasses. So visit doihaveprediabetes.org and take a short test because prediabetes can be reversed.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school, so I'm trying to break that barrier. My daughter, Brooklyn, was also a motivation for me to go back to school. Every day after work, went straight to school, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Is that a faucet running? That's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest. Forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink. What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum. That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest, cleaning up the air we breathe. I didn't know the trees were so amazing. Yep, and the forest gives us shade, trees to climb. That's awesome. Let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does, just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Here's the latest Jazz 90.1 weather forecast.
A slow-moving front making its way across western New York and the Finger Lakes will mean some thundery downpours developing. Look for some hazy sunshine to start the day today, and the humidity stays high. High temperature in the mid-80s. The afternoon brings the best opportunity for some of these thundery downpours with locally heavy rainfall possible into tonight. Some locations by Sunday morning on the order of 1 to 2 inches in the rain bucket. Overnight lows tonight into the mid-70s. Tomorrow, clouds, partial sun, and a shower, thunder shower, highs in the low 80s. I'm meteorologist Josh Nichols for Jazz 90.1.
And currently right now we've got mostly cloudy skies, 90 degrees out at the airport, 80 degrees here at member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Hi, I'm Joelle Van Buren. Please join me weekday mornings from 6 till 10 here at member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Nice music. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Nick Francesco.
I'm Dave Enright.
And I'm Steve Ray.
And at 44 minutes after the hour, we are Sound Bytes. And yeah, I'll tell you, the skill sets that are dying are things like being able to solder, using crimp tools, because we just go out and buy stuff now. You know, it used to be if you wanted, if something went wrong with one of your boards, you fixed it yourself. You soldered it. You pulled chips out. You put chips in. You soldered stuff. You did things. Now, no, throw it away. Get a new one.
And that's what I wanted to bring up. There are two maker spaces. There's the Rochester Makerspace.org and Interlock Rochester, which deal with the whole maker movement, and so you can learn how to solder, 3D print, all that type of stuff. I'm posting links to them now, and they do some really cool stuff. At the starter meeting last week, we had Skip Metz, who's he's a ergonomic engineer from Kodak, but he's gotten into 3D limb prosthetics.
Right.
And there's this whole maker movement of printing 3D limbs for children. For part cost of materials, $40-50 the cost of materials instead of thousands and thousands of dollars for an actual prosthetic. They're going to outgrow in a few months anyway.
Right.
And so they
do it for casts as well now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, these guys that go to the hackerspace and go to the makerspace, free, open to the public. Just show up. You'll find someone that will help you with pretty much anything you're interested in.
Yep. On that note, one of the things I saw on Facebook, which kind of threw a light on to, is our society right now is really missing out. A lot of the younger kids in that one, they don't offer shop classes anymore in school.
Yep.
They don't offer cooking classes in school, homemaking. So a lot of these kids don't know how to sew, cook, or even, I used to love shop class. They don't have it anymore.
When I was a kid, boys went to shop, wood metal shop, and girls went to home ec.
Right.
Now my son went through Fairport High School. Everybody takes shop and they don't call it home ec, what they call it, culinary.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's technology and culinary, and
these
so
are life skills.
Boys and girls learn how to cook, and so one of his final exams is he had to cook us breakfast one morning and document it, and we had to sign his report card and grade him on how good the eggs were.
Yeah. Right. I mean,
some schools still are,
a lot of schools
yeah.
still are dropping it, and unfortunately, that's what's leading to a lot of these kids fast food eating or eating out constantly because they don't know how to cook. They don't know how to even sew on a simple thing like a button. Oh, do that? It's sad. Well, it's just like which it's been going around for the longest time, that they've done away in schools is cursive.
Yeah.
Some kids, and I've said this over time, when I was back in the day, they had a bunch of folks and I was taking on, applicants and have them fill out a job application. It was appalling. My late wife and I would sit there and look at some of these applicants. You couldn't make out the handwriting. It's atrocious.
Yep.
Because these kids are so used to typing, they don't know how to write.
As a faculty member at RIT, I will not accept handwritten assignments anymore. I can't read them. I can't take the time to read them. I'm not going to decipher them anymore. I say you give it to me electronically, and you type it.
And we'll recommend this composition class. In fact, my son going to MCC this fall. He has to take a writing composition class.
Right.
Yep. And hopefully,
there's a lab at RIT that will help you learn to to write, and will also help you learn to write.
Yeah.
You know, both putting a sentence together and making marks on paper.
Yeah.
But because most people don't ever do
Yeah.
either one anymore.
And it's terrible. I mean, like
You know, and it's sad, but I tell my students all the time, look, here's the reality. I don't care how brilliant you are. I don't care how precious a snowflake you are.
Mhm.
If they can't read your writing or they can't understand what you've written, they will not hire you.
Exactly. And most places you go to fill out a job application, it's not on a terminal. They hand you a piece of paper and a pen and say, go over there to the desk and fill it out.
Again, because of my arthritis being so bad, my handwriting is now atrocious. But I know that, and so I slow down and I'm very careful.
Yeah. But
most of the time.
Yeah, but it's gotten so bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
it's a very
scary.
tough thing.
It's scary.
And I'm not talking about English is not your first language, and
Nope.
and none of that stuff. I'm talking strictly about the fact that it's rarely taught anymore, and it's not important. It's not, you know, the kids are not taught how important it is. And so, and I don't care. Like I said, but when you go to get a job, they are going to want to see a sample of your work.
Mm-hmm.
And if your work is unintelligible, either because the sentences don't make any sense or the handwriting is atrocious, they'll go on to the next candidate. That's a cruel, cold but true fact. And so, and it's just a matter of, it's just a matter of making these kids, once they understand that it is actually important, you know, they all get to it. They all get it. So it all works out. But you have to remind them. You have to teach them that it is that way. All right. Our next caller is Jason, all the way from Altoona, PA. How are you, Jason? What's up?
Not too bad. Hey, Nick, how are you guys doing?
We're doing great. How's the weather down there?
Well, the last storm just passed, so for the moment it's okay. But I'll let you know again in 20 minutes. You know how that goes.
Yeah, exactly. Are they heading north or are they heading east?
Yes. Calling in regards to the whole maker thing and them not offering things in school. I'm originally from Arcade, New York, and I went to Pioneer.
Yeah.
And we had, when I went through high school, of course, I graduated in 99, we went through and boys and girls had shop and had home ec.
Right.
But it was a school culture thing that the kids who went to Votech were the ones who couldn't hack it to do the regular school. You know
There's
what I mean?
a stigma there. Yes, absolutely.
And I always wanted to go to BOCES to learn the computer stuff, but that was the stigma where all the dumb kids had to go.
Right.
And I'll tell you this.
It was never true.
Having gone the computer track and gone to the sciences, I then went into retail. I now work for the railroad. I have a wonderful job and a wonderful family the railroad supports. But the simple fact is, now that I'm looking back, I wish I had said to hell with what the culture said, and I wish I had gone to Votech, because the things I want to do just for hobbying, I want to know how to weld. I want to know how to use a lathe. I want to know how to use all this stuff. And yeah, YouTube is great, but if you don't already have experience, investing money in decent equipment to learn on can be a really scary task. I mean, even a cheap welder that has any qualifications of being good is going to bring you $300-400.
Yep. I'll tell you, when I was much younger, and I spent 20 years as a professional actor, you don't start out doing Hollywood movies, right? You start out in regional theater and in local theater groups. And if you're the guy who can A, act, and B, hang lights, and C, build sets, you're way more valuable. So, you know, when I showed them I could rewire a plug, and when I showed them I could hammer a nail, and when I showed them I could build a flat and a riser and a set, immediately you're far ahead of the game than the other folks. And it's just the skill set. It's not a difficult skill set. It's just, you're right, people aren't exposed to it, and so it's somehow magic.
Yep. And like I said, I went through the computer track. That was where my education focused on. I mean, I grew up in the middle of the original .com bubble.
Right.
And Yeah, I know it's changed, right?
Yeah.
But one of the I'm not a big YouTuber yet. Probably never will be. But if you go to my YouTube page, if you look for JDG Industries, I'm just starting out. The biggest resource I have on my YouTube page is a link to other people. And there are kids who are making stuff that it's unbelievable what they're doing. And especially in today's culture, you're like, how do their parents agree to let them do it? But I highly recommend it to any parents who are listening who are wondering, is their kid getting the fullest education that they can? Take a look at the people that I've subscribed to. I share my subscription publicly for them. There's a bunch of people there that show the benefits of making and what you can pull off with rudimentary tools and very little investment, and help your kids realize that there's more to life than just the computers. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything away from computers. They're wonderful. They're great. They've improved our lives immensely. Yep. But there's more than just that.
And somebody has to learn how to build them and learn how to make them better. And that whole
side. There's a guy named Mike Rowe, R-O-W-E, and he does most of the voiceovers on the Discovery Channel.
Yep.
And he used to have a show, Dirty Jobs. And he has a whole thing that he talks about how not everybody has to get a college degree. Lots of people work with their hands and do good things. I kept telling my daughter all her life, be a plumber. You'll make way more money than anybody else. But the reality is that we're losing those skill sets.
Yep.
Finding people who are
Here are the Jazz 90.1 Club Calendar highlights.
Apparently we're close to being done.
All right, well, guys, take care, and I'll hope to try and listen to you again next week.
Thanks, Jason. Have fun and stay dry, will you?
I'll give it an honest try.
There you go. Thanks. All right, we're done for another week. I want to thank everybody who called in. I want to apologize to those of you to whom we did not get. Please call earlier next week. It's the only way you're going to get in. Calling at the very end of the show kind of doesn't work. But we will be back next week with Dave Enright, with Steve Ray, with me, Nick Francesco, and with you. It is 55 minutes after the hour. You've been listening to the longest running computer show in the known universe. It's Sound Bites. Don't go away. George is coming in to play the best German music you'll hear all week. Michael is back to keep him on the straight and narrow. And we'll be back in just 166 hours to get more of your questions, for you to hear more of our nonsense, and to just generally have a lot more fun on Jazz 90.1. Thanks for listening.
Here are the Jazz 90.1 Club Calendar highlights for Saturday, August 13th.